first application also you can use observable, no problem. In the both scenarios you can use it. In the first application I have not written that directly because it is a string value. Directly I have taken that.
Okay, sir.
First application also you can keep it.
Okay.
So observable means it is going to notify you when the response comes from the backend. Then here what I am doing is, whenever you have a observable, it will be notified when the response comes. Then you are going to subscribe to that response. That means you are going to consume the response. That response you consume and you store into your component variable. Got it?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. All right, guys. So with this we understood integration between the Angular and Spring Boot. Two applications. One application is the basic application which will give the welcome message, and second application is which will give you JSON response. So backend API is giving you a JSON response. That JSON response we are displaying as a table in the Angular. Okay. Next one. If I have a form, I will submit a form in the Angular. Can I send the form data to the REST API? I will submit a form. Can I send the form data to the REST API? Can I send a post request to the REST API? Guys, can I send a post request to the REST API? Huh? Can I send a post request to the REST API? Yes. How to send a post request to the REST API? Let's observe. First of all, in the REST API, in the REST API, I'm writing one method, public string add book. I'm expecting book data. I'm writing logic to insert in the table. Logic to insert into table you can write it, but here I'm just writing on the console. First of all, are we really able to send the data from the Angular to the backend? I want to test it. So book insertion, I want to take that data in the post request by using request body. By using request body annotation, I want to take this data. Return success. Book added successfully. I will say that. Book added successfully. So what is this method now? Can I say this method is binded to a post request REST API method? Guys, can I say my REST API method is binded to a post request which is expecting the book data in the request body? Now let's run this application. Run this application, boot app. Can I send a get request from the browser? Can I send a get request from the browser? We cannot send a get request from the browser. Then how to test my method is working or not? How to test my REST API method is working or not? Can we go to Postman? Can we test it? Can we go to Postman and can we test it? I'm going to Postman. I'm testing my REST API. Post request localhost colon 8080/book/book. Body data, I will give book ID as some 101. Book name, I will give the name as Azure. Then book price I am giving some 455. Yes, raw data, JSON data. Now go to the backend, click on send. Book added successfully. I'm able to get the book data. So from the postman, if I am sending the JSON data, that JSON data is receiving by REST API. post request method. Here you can write the logic to insert into the table. In the evening mini project, we will insert the record into the table also. Okay, so currently, are we able to receive the data from the postman or not? Are we able to receive the data from the Angular application or not? We are seeing here. Post mapping of book. Post request, book is the URL pattern, it is expecting book data. If the book data comes to the method, it is printing on the console. With this, API is working successfully. API is working successfully. Can we develop a front end with the form? So when the form is submitted, that form data should come to backend REST API. Can we develop that logic in the Angular? Can we develop that logic in the Angular? A form. Can we develop that logic in the Angular to develop a form? Come on. Okay. Yes. ng new Spring Boot book form. Spring Boot book form app. I'm creating a new project. For post request, I'm creating a new project. Routing no, CSS. I have given the code here for the post request, guys. You need to create a book class. You need to create a book class to represent the data. Then form logic. Then form logic. Project is creating. Yeah, finally done. CD space book form app. Spring Boot book form app created. Now application is ready, guys. Application is ready. Spring Boot book form app. I want to develop a form in this application. When I submit that form, form data should go to backend REST API. Let me create the classes first. ng generate class book. One binding class I am creating, book class. One book class is created. Let's go to this book class. Let's declare some variables. What is the data we are going to get from the form? With that data, I will create one book class. What is the data I am going to get? With that data, I am going to create one book class. Okay, book class I am creating. Book class I am creating with variables. Alright, book class I am creating with variables. Okay, you can write a book class with the variables. Now I don't need any constructor also. Empty construct. Undefined means currently default values. Default values undefined. Empty. Empty. Right? Book class is created with the variables. It is ready. What is the next step? Class is ready. What is the next step? Service to write the business logic. Service to write the business logic. Before going to write the service, we need to import a HTTP client module. HTTP client module we have to import. Angular HTTP common HTTP. Angular / common / HTTP. HTTP client module is imported from common. Now, HTTP client module is imported. Next, create the service. Create the service. ng generate service book. ng generate service book. Book service is created. Go to book service. So what is the logic available here? No logic available. Let's inject a HTTP client. Private HTTP client. I have taken HTTP client to make a request. HTTP client to make a request. Alright. Alright. Next. Create contact. I'm writing a function. Create contact. Or sorry, this is create book now. Create book function I'm writing. For this function, I'm expecting book object as a parameter. I'm expecting book object as a parameter. I'm expecting book object as a parameter. Clear? What should I do? Return this dot http client dot post. I need to send a post request. I need to send a post request. What I will send in the post request? API URL. API URL. API URL private API URL is equal to http colon double slash localhost colon 8080 slash contact. Now for this we are giving API URL comma this API URL comma this book object I am going to supply. This dot API URL comma book object. This function is expecting a book object. Now form data will come. Form data will come from the template to the component. Component is going to send that object to this service function. Service is sending the book data to the API. This dot API URL comma book object. Now, if you get some response, I'm getting text response. So here we can specify response type as text. That means when I submit the post request is giving me text response. So I'm specifying the response type as a text. See this service logic, which will send the book data to the REST API using HTTP post request. Observe this logic. Observe this logic. Are you able to understand this logic? Earlier, when we develop service function, in the previous service function, did I take any parameter for the service function? No, service function parameter not available earlier. But this time, my service function having a parameter. Why? From the UI, form is submitting, form data will come to the component, component will give the form data to the service function as a object. That object data is sending to the REST API in the post request. So this object will be converted to JSON by HTTP client. This JSON will be sent to the API. I'm taking a book object as a parameter for the create book function. This book represents form data. This book represents form data. Are you clear with this logic? Are you clear with this logic, guys? Anybody not able to understand here? Clear, right? Post request, HTTP post request I want to send. This is the URL. HTTP post request I want to send. This is the URL. This is the data I want to send in the request. I am expecting the response in the text format. HTTP client.post URL comma book. Book is coming as a parameter for the function. Function parameter I am using to send in the post request. Book data JSON. Response type is a text. So service function is ready. Service function is ready. Now what is the next step? What is the next step? Component, right? Component. Go to the component class. Inside the component class, first inject the service. Inside the component, first inject the service using constructor. Using constructor. So private book service. Book service. Book service is injected into component. Now here, to bind the data to the object, I'm creating one contact object. Contact colon contact is equal to new contact. I am taking contact of this. Book. Book colon book is equal to new book. I'm creating the book object, empty book object I'm creating to store the data, form data. Now, here I'm writing one function on submit. Submit, handle submit. Click is equal to save book data. Save book form data. Save book form data, that is the function I am taking. Save book form data, that is the function I am taking in the component. Save book data function I am taking. This function should store the data into one message variable. I'm taking empty book object which is used to bind the form data to this message variable to display success message. Save book data. When I click on this button to submit that form, I'm going to take this dot book service dot what is the function we have in the book service? Private book service I have taken. This dot book service, what is the function available? Create book available, right? Component.cs, this dot book service dot create book. For the create book I am going to pass this dot book dot subscribe of this data. Whatever the data is coming, this dot message is equal to data. That's it. This dot message is equal to data. So whatever the message is coming from the REST API, I just want to display that data. I want to store that data into message variable. I want to store that data into message variable. Message colon any type. That message colon any type. Type can be anything. Whatever the data is coming from the service function, I want to store that data into my message variable. Save book data is the function. Create book, already I have created a book object here. So for the service function I am passing this book object. For the service function I am passing the book object. Clear? Are you clear with this? Are you clear with this, what I am doing here? I have taken simply book is equal to new book. I have created one empty book object. This is used to bind the form data. It is used to bind the form data. Message colon any message variable I have taken. Save book form data. Save book form data. Save book form data. Okay. So this is the function. I should bind this function to button in the form. When I click on that button, this function should be called. This function is calling the service function. Service function giving some data. I'm subscribing to that data. Whatever the data I'm getting from that, I'm storing into message variable. I'm storing into message variable. Yeah, save it. See this? Are you clear with this component function? Are you clear with this component function? Now what is the next step? Template. We need to create a form and we need to write a submit button. We need to create a form and we need to write a submit button. Submit button, right? So here form data is binding to book object. Book.book ID, book.book name, book.book price. Like this form data we are binding to object. Form binding. Simply let's take this form logic. Angular UI plus Spring Boot REST API. Angular UI plus Spring Boot REST API. See here, in the component book object is available. So template having the form fields, right? Ng model is equal to book.book ID. That means this field data is storing to book class book ID variable. This field data is binding to book class book name variable. This field data is binding to book class price variable. Book ID, book name, book price. Now, when you click on that button, save book form data function I have to call. On click is equal to this is the function. On click is equal to this is the function. Now, look at this template. Look at the template. Look at the template. Guys, now tell me, this form is a reactive form or this form is a template driven form? This form is a reactive form or this form is a template driven form? Template driven form. How can you say that it is a template driven form? How can you say that it is a template driven form? It is binded with ng model. It is binded with ng model. Directives I am using to develop the form. ng model. Okay. Now let's try this. Run this application. ng serve -open. ng serve -open. Failed to compile. Where is the problem? Terminal. using ng model, but did I import forms module? Did I import forms module? No. Can I use ng model without forms module? No, that's why it is failed. That's why it is failed. Now see, now it is compiled successfully. Go to here, 4200. Wow, form is coming. Are we able to get the form? Book ID, book name, book price. Yes. Go to backend. In the backend console, we don't have anything. 101 Java 100. Can you see the screen now? Can you see my screen now? Okay. Yeah, see. In the backend console, do I have anything in the backend console? If request comes to the backend, what the backend will do? If request comes to the backend will print the data on the console. If the data is printing on the console, that means integration is successful. Click on save book. Wow, book added successfully. See that? Are we getting the data to the backend from the front end? Are we able to get the data to the backend? Yes. Let me change it to 102 Python. Price is 250.61. Observe 250.61. Click on save book. Can you see Python record also came to the backend console? Angular is able to send the request to the Spring Boot or not? Angular application sending the request to the Spring Boot application. The request came to the Spring Boot. Book data came in the form of object. Now can we insert this object into database table? Whatever the form data coming from the Angular, can we insert that form data into database table now? Yes, we can insert that data into database table now. That we are going to do in our evening session. We are going to develop one mini project, guys. In that mini project, we are going to perform the CRUD operations. One end-to-end application we are going to develop at the front end to perform the CRUD operations by using Angular. Now, we learned get request in one project, post request in one project. In the evening session, we will do everything in the single project. Okay? Successful. Observe carefully what happened in this project. Let me give the steps for this also. HTTP post request example. Okay. HTTP post request example. Create HTTP post request method in REST controller. Create a HTTP post request method in the REST controller. This is the method. Create HTTP post request method in the REST controller. I have created one method in REST controller which is binded to HTTP post request. Next one, create Angular application. Then third step, create binding class. I have created a binding class like this, book class. Create a binding class like this. Then next one, import HTTP client module and forms module in app.module.ts file. In the app.module.ts file, we are importing HTTP client module and the forms module. HTTP client module and the forms module we have imported. Then next one, create a service class with a REST HTTP client logic to access backend REST API. create a service class to access backend REST API using HTTP client. So this is my service class which is going to access backend REST API. Then create component class to access service class function, to call the service class function. Create component class to access service class function. Now this is my component class which is going to access service class function. Component class which is accessing my service class function. Create component class to access service class function. Next one, create presentation logic in the template file. Create presentation logic in the template file. Create presentation logic in the template file. Create presentation logic in template file. So same logic. Book ID, book name, book price, and message interpolation. The response message is displaying here because interpolation variable is available. Book added successfully. Interpolation variable available here. Good. So anybody having questions in this? Anybody having questions in this? Jitendra, Sahu, what's your question, guys? In the post request example, what is your question in the post request example? Rubina, what's your doubt?
Sir, actually, only my doubt is, sir, if we want to pass header to the API, sir, how can we do that?
We will see that in the evening. I will tell you how to pass the header to the API, the client request.
Yes, sir. And sir, how about the error handling, sir?
We will discuss that. We will discuss.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So as of now, we have seen how the basic integrations are going to happen, right? How to send a GET request to the API, how to render the response in the Angular, how to send a post request to the API, how to send the form data to the API. That part we have discussed. All right.
Sir, when to create like a subcomponent, sir, like from the app component, subcomponents are
Yeah, in the evening mini project I will tell you.
Okay, sir.
When multiple pages you have, then you will create component for every page.
Okay, sir. Sir, if you don't mind, can you please share these notes in 19 years?
Yeah, sure, sir. I will share in the 19 year.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, how to know that existing Angular project version?
In the Angular.json file. If you go for Angular.json file, package.json. Package.json file, you see what is the version they are using. Angular packages are there, dependencies ka. Which version dependencies are available? 13.3. Yeah, if you go to package.json, you will see which version of the Angular packages they are using.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir, how to that JWT token, this thing can pass in?
Yeah, that we can discuss that, sir. I will prepare one video how to pass a token from the front end. Okay. So evening session I am going to start at 7 o'clock, guys. 7 to 9 I will take the session in the evening. In the evening session we will develop one project, end-to-end project we will develop at the front end to perform the CRUD operations. Whatever the topics we have learned now, by using all those concepts we are going to develop a project. 20 JRTP people. For our first mini project we are going to develop the UI today evening. We already completed the CRUD operations for first mini project, right? That first mini project UI part we are going to develop in the evening session. That is a project at the front end, CRUD operations project we are going to develop in the evening session. Alright. So what we covered in this session today, how to access, how to send HTTP, how to send HTTP GET request to REST API, how to send HTTP GET request and display a response in table in HTML table, how to send HTTP post request, how to send HTTP post request to REST API, Angular form submission to boot REST API, Angular form submission to boot REST API. So this is what we have covered so far in our part. Okay? Yes.
Hello, sir.
Now, yes, sir.
Sir, what is view child, sir? View child.
Yeah, we'll come to that point. View child. When you have one component, if you want to send the data from one component to another component, then child concept comes into picture. Okay? Yes. So let's
Sir,
see.
at the last, after completion of project and all, just show us Angular and how to prepare it in the Angular website, sir. So that we can understand how to go forward. Even if we have any doubts here, we can refer there. And
Sure. I can show you that.
yeah, thanks.
Sir, how we debug Angular code? Is it same as that of JS? Means adding debugger?
Yes, sir. The front end, browser debugging. Browser side, you need to debug it.
So what we have to do is add debugger inside the function where we
Java
want to debug.
in the function, you need to keep the debugger. Browser side debugging.
That means I have done JavaScript debugging, but
Yeah, same
no idea
thing.
about Angular.
Same thing. Now,
Actually right now in Angular 13 is latest version. How to create the Java 6.7 version project?
Angular 6.7 version projects.
Yeah.
So you need to install, and now you are installing Angular CLI, right? How you are installing Angular CLI software? npm install @Angular CLI. You are specifying that, right?
Yes.
Whenever you install Angular CLI, it is going to consider the latest version of the Angular. So if you want to create a Angular project with lower version, you need to install the Angular CLI lower version. At the time of installing the CLI, you can specify which version of the CLI you want to install. Like this.
నడుంకో చెప్తే కొడతానే నడుంకో చెప్తే కొంచెం అటు నడుంకో చెప్పారనుకో ఇది
Are we gonna use bootstrap styling like that as we haven't used still attractive CSS?
Yeah, in the evening class I will show you how to use that bootstrap CSS also.
Sir, can I request one thing, sir, if it is okay?
Yeah.
Sir, can you please create a group for us till for a few weeks we can help each other.
Sure. I will do that.
Because last week also I have asked you if it is possible, please create a group so that
I will. Yeah, already we have a Telegram channel. I will enable the chat option.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Right. So guys,
One thing is how to get post both operation can do means when we are fill some data, same time already some the data is coming from backend. This type of example can you do?
In the evening project was that, sir. Whatever the doubts that you guys are asking, everything is there in the evening project. Single project with routing, services, components, multiple pages, form submissions, form data display in the table. Everything is there in the project. Okay. Whatever the topics that we have learnt in the Angular, by using all the projects, we are developing one project for 2 hours. Okay, right. Let's summarize what we have discussed so far in this workshop, guys. So whatever the syllabus I have mentioned for the workshop, I covered that. What is a web application and what is single page application, what is multi-page application, single page application versus multi-page application, what is Angular, Angular JS versus Angular, Angular version history, Angular advantages, Angular building blocks, Angular architecture, environment setup, TypeScript, where versus let, arrays, classes, objects, interfaces, modules, components, templates. Here, Angular application development, package.json. What is package.json? What is angular.json? What is package.json? What is angular.json? What is welcome file in Angular? What is welcome file in Angular? Angular application execution flow. Angular application execution flow also we understood. And what are components in the Angular? What is root component in the Angular? What is root component in the Angular, which is app component that we discussed? Angular application development, Angular application, what is package.json, what is angular.json, what is welcome file in the Angular, Angular application execution flow, what is the root component in the Angular, root component nothing but parent component, which is app component. How to create multiple components in the Angular, how to invoke multiple components, how to invoke child components from the parent component, what is component selector, what is component selector also we discussed. Then components, templates, data binding. Data binding we are able to do with the interpolation, property binding, event binding, two-way data binding. Then directives to manipulate the DOM elements, pipes to transform the data, services to write the business logic, routing for page navigation, forms development. Forms we can develop in two ways in the Angular, template driven forms and reactive forms. Then after we discussed about Ajax, what is the purpose of Ajax, benefits of Ajax, HTTP client and REST calls. How to send HTTP GET request to boot REST API, how to send the GET request to Spring Boot REST API, how to send HTTP GET request and display JSON response in HTML table, how to send a HTTP post request to the REST API, Angular form submission to boot REST API. We have done this. We have learned these concepts in these 2 weeks of time. We have learned these topics in these 2 weeks of time. Okay. Next one. Whatever the topics that we have learned, we have learned these topics piece by piece. We learned how to send GET request in one project. We send how to send GET request in one project. We send how to send post request in one project. We learned what is services in one project. We learned what is routing in one project. Now, by combining all these things, whatever we learnt in the Angular, by combining all these things, whatever you learnt in the Angular, what is package.json, package.json, angular.json, what is welcome file, execution flow, root component, component selector, templates, data binding, directives, pipes, services, routing, forms, Ajax, GET request, post request, everything I'm going to use in one project. Now you will get the full clarity on the Angular development. Whatever the topics we have discussed in the Angular, by using all these topics I am going to develop one application in the evening. So that is one end-to-end project we are going to do in the Angular to perform CRUD operations. Are you guys clear with this? I'm going to share these videos for this fine. Go through these things, guys, whatever we have learned, how we have integrated the Spring Boot and Angular. Be ready for the evening class. So evening is the last class for this workshop. Evening we will take 2 hours maximum 2 hours it is going to take to develop our project. 2 hours it is going to take to develop our project. Got it? Are you fine with that? One mini project we are going to develop. Evening session at 7 p.m. Evening session will start at 7 p.m. 7 to 9 p.m. class will be available. we'll complete our Angular workshop in the evening. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. We'll meet again at evening 7 p.m. Bye bye.